Hey everybody, I wanted to take a few minutes today to break down some of the very common postures that we're doing almost every time throughout our yoga practice. So I always like to start with the foundation, I like to call the foundation of so many of our standing postures, and that is just Tadasana, mountain pose. So when we work from the ground up, if we were to look down at our feet, and I always like to lift all 10 toes. And as you lift all 10 toes, you feel the four corners of your feet root down into the mat. So we want everything going in towards our center. That's really why we're here, to practice finding our center. So energetically, physically, spiritually, we're going inward to find our center. So shins spiral in, kneecaps lift, thighs firm, belly draws in, chest can be slightly lifted. So there's a straight line from your heels through the crown of your head. So the back of your neck is long, you don't have to crank it up, but it's an energetic line. And then so for the hands, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of different postures where this is the foundation right here. And I'll reference those eventually when we get to a few of those postures, whether it's on this series or maybe another series that I'll be sending your guys' way soon. So I have a mat laid long way and sideways, and I always want to start in downward facing dog because we're there so much. And so I'll start here so you can see my hands. If you look at your hands, you always want your hands, your pointer fingers to be pointing straight ahead or out, never in. You can see what this does to my shoulders when they're in. So again, I'll try to break down these poses as we build from the ground up. So you can see my fingers are spread comfortably wide. And there's even a slight press into your fingertips. You can see my fingertips are kind of turning a different color when I grip lightly. You don't have to grip crazy hard, but it's a light grip, and that balances the weight distribution into your hands. You're not dumping into your wrist. I like to cue these two fingers. It's like energetically like they're trying to squeeze together. And that should root down the inner palm of your hand, the base of your index fingers. So the hands are so important. We're on our hands a lot in a lot of these poses, whether it's like here in down dog or any kind of plank, side plank. So inner palms down, fingers spread comfortably wide. Now the energy of my hands is pressing forward. So energetically I'm pressing forward, which helps me push out of my shoulders. Tell me if you can see the difference between this, where there's not a lot of energy in my hands, and then all of a sudden I start to straighten and push out of the hands, out of the shoulders, out of the wrist. Your upper back is soft in down dog, your low belly is drawn in. You don't want your elbows, your biceps rotating in. If anything, they're rotating forward or out slightly. So that's what it looks like from here. If we're turning from the side, kind of the same thing. With our feet, if we work down to our legs, thighs firm, kneecaps lift, heels energetically drive down. My heels have never been able to make it to the mat. That's okay. Sometimes it's a flexibility thing. Sometimes it's just the anatomy of your foot. So we're not concerned with that. Inner palms down. It feels like you're stretching out the mat in between your hands and your feet. If you want a little more, you lift the toes and you feel more in the back of the legs. And then just pay attention when you're dumping into your shoulders. How can you press out? If you really struggle to get out of your shoulders, bend your knees a little bit. Put a slight bend in your knees, and then just keep pressing through the hands, pressing through the wrists and out of the shoulders. You can just let your head go. In downward facing dog, your gaze could be at your kneecaps, your thighs, or all the way at your belly button. You don't need to hold your head up. You can see how this kind of cranks my neck. And pressing through the hands. We're here so much, so we want to take time to break it down. Now we transition a lot into our Chaturanga, or Vinyasa, Chaturanga Dharmasana. So a lot of that transition looks like going to plank. So here's those hands again, hands pressing forward. You can see that I have a slight rounding of my upper back. We don't want our butt up, we want to drop our butt, but lift our hip points. Remember Tadasana where we started? Here's that line again where there's a straight line from your heels, heart, through the crown of your head. As you lower through your Chaturanga, I see so much of this in class where we're scooping through, and even though that might look cool, it's not great. You can see what happens When we do that scooping through, right about here, look at my shoulders and my neck. My shoulders are all up in my ears. So to handle that and kind of lower through intentionally with more space, if we go to the top of a push-up, we push off our toes slightly. So now we've already gone forward. Now we can go straight down. Your shoulders never need to drop past your elbows. We don't need to go this low. Just go to here, flip the toes, press through the top of the feet evenly without collapsing again. Press through the hands, and then press back, downward facing dog. So take a few breaths there. I'll rest my arms for a sec if you're watching or if you're practicing. But that little slight push off the toes allows you to drop straight down so you don't have to do that scooping through. And remember, your shoulders never have to drop past your elbows. You only have to go that low. And you can always modify and take a cobra. You can take a lower cobra. You can skip your chaturangas if you've got wrist and shoulder issues. Let the practice meet you where you're at. So one more time, I'll just take you through that. We've got our downward facing dog. We go top of the push-up, and then it's just that little push off the toes. But remember, when we're here, butt's not up, butt drops, but hip points lift. That slight rounding of your upper back. Push off the toes, go straight down. This is as low as we need to go. Keep your belly in, press into up dog. So sometimes I'll see people's feet do this. You can see my shoulders, try to press through your feet evenly, try to lift your kneecaps, and then press back down dog. The option also is to go top of a push-up. You can lower to your knees, lower down into a low cobra, press back, downward facing dog. All right, so I hope that little mini breakdown of both Tadasana, which we'll elaborate more on later, downward facing dog, and then taking through Chaturanga Dandasana, up dog, down dog. Some teachers will say, take it through your vinyasa. We do so many of these, so we might as well figure out what works right for our body from an alignment standpoint and how we transition from pose to pose. Thanks.